sun was setting, it was burning red. You had your back against that old oak tree. I was leaning up against your chest, watching the horses running free. And I said,
You are listening to Shea Fisher's new single, Take Me Back to Texas. Shea started her music career in Australia, the country commonly nicknamed Oz. What Shea didn't know is that her yellow brick road in Nashville, although working with names like Taylor Swift, would be thrown a crushing obstacle that would lead her down different paths. Shea wouldn't have it any other way now. Married to champion rodeo cowboy Tyson Durfey, Shea has successfully launched Shea Michelle Buckles, Shea Baby and Fit with Shea. She is now back in the studio with more music on the horizon, loaded with talent. Now, let's get to business. Hey everybody, I am your host Tatiana Ryan, and with me today I have a country crooner, Miss Shea Fisher, the country artist, and not only country artist, you are a business mogul, girl.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. I love that introduction. Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here on the Businessy Podcast. You started in Australia. You're an Australian girl, and if people talk to you, you hear that little Australian accent in there. Tell us about your childhood.
Yeah, so talking about the accent, my accent's a little confused. So I'll sound a little Australian here, and then I'll sound Texas, and then I'll sound Nashville. I've lived in a lot of places, so the accent's definitely not near as strong as it used to be. But I did grow up in Australia. So I grew up in a rodeo family. My dad is a Australian champion bull rider and bareback rider, and my mom's an Australian champion bow racer. So from the time I can remember, I was on horseback. I was definitely a cowgirl through and through. We lived in Australia until I was 9, and then my family moved to the US for 2 years as my dad was on the PBR professional bull riding circuit. And at 40, he was still riding bulls professionally, which was so cool to say, because that's not many dads are 40 years old still riding bulls, but my dad was. So living in America was really where I got introduced to music. And my love for music, that was. I mean, obviously the 90s country is like undeniably the best era ever. And that's where I specifically remember driving in the truck so many miles we would do and listening to the radio and just falling in love with music. So when I moved home to Australia when I was 12, I was like, you know what? I'm going to enter all these talent competitions and win and be awesome. And I didn't win any of them. I didn't even place. The Talent Quest judges said I sounded too American or I didn't fit the right molds. But obviously my parents had taught me from a young age that let people's negative opinions drive you, not bring you down. So then I was like, well, you know what? That's really cool. They think I'm different. I'm unique. I'm not like everybody else. So I embraced that and just kept entering and not winning, entering for the experience. And I was like, I'm done with Talent Quest. And then I just started singing the national anthem at rodeos because I knew that like rodeo was my thing. And I was very patriotic for my country. So I loved singing the national anthem. And basically kind of how it came about, I was at a rodeo singing the national anthem. And there was a country music festival that goes along with the bigger rodeos that is on this circuit. And I seen a big tour bus parked over by the fence. And I want to say I was probably 14. And I was like, you know what? I should go knock on that tour bus door and see if the act's there and see if I can be play for them. And I literally at 14, security was way less back then. I went and knocked on this tour bus door and I was like, hey, I'm Shea. And the main act, his name was Steve Ford. He was very famous in Australia. He came to the door and I'm like, can I be your support act? And he's like, well, ironically, our support act got sick, so he didn't have one. And then he asked me if I have a band and I'm like, I have karaoke tracks. Does that count? So I put karaoke tracks on He put me on stage 2 hours before. Now there was three people in the audience, and my parents were two of them. And I performed like there was 500,000 people there. And he ended up thinking I was great. And then literally at that rodeo, he's like, "Hey, does your daughter?" He asked my parents, "Does your daughter want to come on, be my support act for these next four big festivals?" Because I was going to be at the same rodeos competing. And he ended up being my manager, and we wrote my first album together during this tour. And one thing led to another. We recorded the album, and at 16, I was this just rodeo country girl. And he's like, "You know what? We're going to pitch you to record labels." And in Australia, record labels are there's not near as many as the US. I was like, "Really? Me, a record label?" And I got a record deal at 16. And man, I still remember having to juggle, like, should I go to a rodeo or should I go and perform at a show? Like, I was that cowgirl that the choice was
Mhm.
hard. Now, obviously, I know what I choose, but yeah, so at 16, I was like finishing the last couple of years of school, touring about 3, 4 days a week, and then I'd be at school. But yeah, it was just kind of like a crazy, crazy whirlwind to that point.
Well, it sounds a lot like Lainey Wilson's story. You know, she said she was going on the shows and everything, and nobody was biting, nobody was biting. I think it was like astronomical, like 7 times. Some people said it was more. I don't know the exact number. But growing up in a family of rodeo champions in Australia, where culture is a lot like American culture, and then going back and forth, as you said, between Australia and America. What is the differences between the both continents? Because
Yeah,
they're
that's
actually very similar.
Yeah, yeah. So thankfully they both speak English. Other than I had to definitely drop some of my Australian accent because I could not order anything at Whataburger drive-through because they did not know what I was saying. But so then I would have to put my American accent on just to order food. But very similar. And for me, thankfully, I knew people here. So when I felt like, so I ended up into your question, I ended up moving to the US when I was 20. I actually signed, I had had some number one songs in Australia, and then I wasn't ever trying to get a record deal in the US. Obviously, it was a dream and on my goals. I didn't know how I'd get that, but I had a record label that heard my songs being mastered in the studio in Nashville. They called me and said, "Hey, can you fly over in 2 weeks? We want to talk to you about signing you as an artist." And I was like, "Okay, sure, this is crazy." So I did sign an American record deal when I was 20, packed up, moved across the country, I mean, across the world, but I did take my Australian band members with me. So the transition was quite easy because I still felt like I had home with me. Now, the
Mhm.
hard part for me was trading my cowgirl boots and my hat to go to Nashville because they wanted to drop all that and they wanted me wearing high heels and whatever the fashion was at the time. So that was hard. I still remember I would go out to Kix Brooks's cutting horse ranch and just lope his horses. Like his cutting horses, just lope them down. And normally you pay somebody to do that, but I'm like, "Hey, I just want to exercise your horses for free because I just really need to get on the horse."
Mhm.
Um, so that was definitely a struggle for me. The countries are very similar. Other than a long way away on a plane. But I would fly back and forth to Australia for 36 hours just to shoot a music video because I was still promoting music in Australia, yet having the record deal in Nashville. So it was definitely a huge juggling act. And I look back now and I wish I had been able to be felt more present in the moment. Just had a lot going on that I couldn't really be like settle and be like, "This is amazing, this opportunity." But then like during my Nashville experience, I mean, it was great. I had an amazing time, but my record label actually shut down during the release of my first single. So my song was doing great at radio as one of the third top song added the weeks it was released. And then my label shut down. So what that meant was I was just stagnant, not able to promote my single and just in limbo, but I couldn't go and look for another record deal because I was still on my record label.
Oh.
So it was when I went from being 16 signing a deal for then 4 years, everything just falling into place so well, including the American record deal. The label told me I was the next big superstar. Obviously I thought I was unstoppable. And like
Mhm.
that, I still remember the phone call saying my record label shut down. It was all gone. And I had to figure out like, well, what now? Like, do I move home to Australia? Obviously, I could still have a great career there, or do I stay in Nashville and like songwrite and figure out like, hey, can I get another record deal or what's this look like? So at the time I chose to stay in Nashville and did a bunch of songwriting. And that's when I actually started our first company, Shea Michelle Buckles. I would sit at Panera Bread and cold call these associations, which if you've cold called before, it's so embarrassing. Hi, do you want to buy a belt buckle? But I was really good at it. And I was able to make a whopping $30,000 the first couple of years, which was enough to pay my bills to live in Nashville. So that was a huge blessing. But during that time, I would travel back and forth to Texas because I had a lot of Texas connections. Um, and when I was in Texas, I really felt like home because it was back to my roots of how I grew up and more of what I had in Australia. So I ended up spending more and more time in Texas. And I actually met my husband at Houston Rodeo when he was competing. I was there modeling for a company called Cowgirl, and we crossed paths, but we didn't start dating for quite a while. I mean, it was a year before I even gave him my phone number because I was like, you're the marrying kind. I'm not there yet. I've dated bad boys. You're a nice guy. I just don't know if I'm at that point yet. So thankfully he was very persistent and bared with me until I got through that stage. But yeah, I mean, I definitely I would say I got a little bit bitter on the industry in meaning music, just because I felt like my opportunity was stripped away from me. I watched all my friends that I used to hang out with and songwrite with starting to climb the charts. And I'm like, that could be me. So I honestly, girl, I stepped away from music for like, it was probably 2 or 3 years. I didn't even pick up my guitar, like a nothing, like completely had to separate myself because I don't know if it was because it hurt too much or what. It was just a really like a struggling time, but I was able to stay super busy with the businesses. And then when I met Tyson, my goal was to help him reach his goal of being a world champion. So, I was going to be the best support system I could be for him. And then obviously we started the kids clothing line, but I just had to stay busy. If I wasn't busy, I knew that I would go back too much of like, hey, music, Nashville, and I knew I wasn't at a place to jump right back into it. So yeah, that's kind of what led me to that point.
People who don't understand the rodeo family and structure, that we're all very, very supportive. If you've been in rodeo and you know that we all, it's like a family in rodeo.
Yeah.
Explain that, because as you just said, when you met your husband, you're like, I'm not sure about this. I'm not the marriage type right now.
Yeah.
But when you dove right in and you were his support system to get him to where he wanted to be, but you were also growing your own businesses at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the life of a rodeo cowboy is very similar to, obviously I grew up in that lifestyle. So I was familiar with it, but it's also very similar to a country music touring lifestyle. You leave home in May, you don't come back till September, you're on the road. So if you're dating a rodeo cowboy, you're gonna have to be either back and forth visiting each other to make it work or on the road. So it takes a team. I mean, these cowboys travel 100,000 miles a year rodeoing. It's a lot and it gets draining. So for me, I was like, hey, I know Tyson needs more sponsors. I know that he needs XYZ. So my goal is I'm a very driven person. So it wouldn't matter if it was like cooking. I would want to be the best cooker there was. It wouldn't matter like what I was doing. So I just was like, hey, I'm gonna be the best girlfriend, best wife, whatever that was at the time as possible to Tyson. And that was kind of like, then I found my identity in that. Because obviously my identity for so many years was all about number one songs at radio and who knew you on stage and things like that. But my identity had to shift, and it shifted to business owner and wife and support system there. The Tyson definitely came along in the perfect time for me. But he always said to me like, man, I wish I could have seen that part of your life that he was not around for, which was music. So that kind of always played in the back of my mind, like he didn't get to see that. Now kids didn't really get to experience that a whole lot, which is kind of one of the reasons that I even got back into music, honestly.
Being driven that much, going through the motions with the record label that shut down, and having to shift those gears and say, okay, well, I can't be drained with everything that I was just doing. I have to keep moving forward. And as you said, making those phone calls. Where did you get the gut feeling to just keep pushing forward? Because a lot of people will be like, what the hell? And just give up.
Well, I don't do failure. I do fail, but I don't let failure keep me down. So failure actually drives me. I've never been afraid to fail. And that's something that I learned from a young age from my dad. I mean, my dad, if literally anything was possible in my dad's books, and obviously my mom's great too, but my dad and I had a very, very close relationship growing up. So, at 40 years old, my dad was riding bulls. People were like, that's too well, he still wins. Why wouldn't you do it? You're just putting limitations on yourself. I asked my dad once, because the guys in rodeo, the junior events, the guys were able to do the events the girls did, but the girls didn't do all the boy events. So they always beat me for the all-round title. So I asked my dad, I'm like, well, can I ride bulls? Because I'm sick of getting beaten. And my dad's like, well, yeah, there's no rule. So me and my dad, obviously my dad should have been like, no way, you're a girl. Why would I show you how to do that? My dad was like, yeah, let's practice. So all summer we practiced on his bucking machine, came out, got second at my first rodeo, and then I won the all-round title, which I set out to do, and I was the first girl in Australia to make the national finals in the junior bull riding. Obviously now I think I was crazy, but my dad from a young age told me that nothing was impossible, but he did also show me that times are going to get tough, and it's just how you pick yourself up from them. So for me, the door shut in music at the time, and I was like, well, I'm going to be successful at something else. And that's when I was like, okay, the buckle company, this makes sense. I'm from a rodeo family. My parents had a buckle company in Australia. Let's do this. Now, was that my like passion and desire of what I wanted to do solely for the rest of my life? No, but I know that there are stepping stones that we take in life to get to certain points. So that's where I was at with that. But even like, honestly, the baby boot company, we have Shea Baby, which is a kids clothing and boot line. And the first 4 or 5 years, it was just little cowboy boots. And I still remember having the conversation with Tyson. The company just really hadn't grown in like 4 or 5 years, and we were just selling boots. And I was like, how's this even going to work? Wasn't making a lot on it. Tyson's like, honestly, and he'll tell you, he's like, I think you should just stop doing that and do something else, because you're spending so much time on this. So why don't you put it into something that's going to work? And I was like, no, I don't start something and not finish it. This is going to be successful one way or another. And I would not shut the doors on it. The very next year, crossed with one of my now best friends, a lady named Laura Benson, who had a big company called Philly Flair, a huge retail store. But Laura had a lot of connections in the clothing side. And I'd always wanted to do kids' clothing. And she's like, well, here, do it. I was like, well, sure. And it's just so funny thinking about it, because I thought it was just going to be retail clothing on our website. And the very first order we had was Cavender's. So our garage got turned into a warehouse because we didn't have a warehouse. All of our vehicles got hailed out because we had nowhere to put them. And then our second account was Buc-ee's Truck Stops. So I went from having this idea in my mind to then having all these stores, and it definitely was a complete God deal, because I don't build a company like that on my own. But just going from like thinking we were going to shut the doors to the next year now we're in like 2,000 stores, and literally like my office is like full of kids clothing as well. And I'm right now literally in the middle of designing the kids clothing, which is always quite ironic because it'll be the middle of winter and I'll be having designed summer styles for a year and a half away. Hence, if I take beach vacations, I'm just going to say it's for business. But yeah, so like, God always had a plan in it. Now, like getting back into the music side of things, I couldn't have done this 3 years ago because I was in such a point of growing these businesses and at the baby stages. And I just didn't have a team around me that could help run it all and keep it all moving. I have a great team of people now, whether it's like my parents live here in the US, and we actually have 3 beautiful kids. So that just adds another layer of complexity to the equation. Now that Tyson is unretired, my husband, for those that don't know, was the 2016 world champion tie-down roper. and he's made the NFR 13 times, I think, which is the National Finals Rodeo. But he retired a couple of years ago, and he said that he was done, all done, had a great career, was finished. And then December this year, he decided he's unfinished and he's going to go make the finals again and wants to win another world title, which is amazing. It's just like, okay, we should just both do this at the same time and we will just, we'll just make it work. I mean, we could sit here and be like, oh, that's too hard. Or we could be like, you know what? Our kids are great kids. They're used to traveling the world. We'll figure it out.
Okay, so what advice do you give people that, as you have said a couple times during the conversation, that it's okay to maybe put things to the side and concentrate on something else and have that complexity of being able to jump from subject to subject, like having the baby wear, which kind of can go into your songwriting, having those experiences of family and things like that, or the belt buckles where you're still in the world of rodeo.
Yeah, no, 100%.
What advice would you give somebody with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you have a desire or a passion, I don't think you should ever give up on it. Now, there's seasons of life and there's seasons for everything. And obviously, I think that you need to focus on certain things at a time and not do 15 things at once. Do what you're doing and do it really good. And then when you get to a point that you feel like that you've done that well, you'll be able to jump back into your other passions and goals. For me, I always knew I wanted to get back into music. I didn't ever know if that was a possibility. And I won't lie, I kind of felt like my season had passed. I mean, I got signed at 16. I had plenty of great memories touring, doing all the fun stuff. And I was like, well, maybe my time's over for that. And maybe God wants me to focus on something else, which he did at the time. But for me, what I want to show people is that you're never too young. You're never too old. The time mightn't always seem perfect, but if you still have a dream and a goal, the worst thing that can happen is it not work and you say, I tried. Because I don't want to be 70 years old one day and say, man, I should have tried one more time. I don't want to be that person. I want to do it and be okay if it doesn't work out, but put everything into it. So I remember the conversation vividly. Our oldest daughter, she was 7, had said to me like, hey, Mom, I've never seen you perform before. And I was like, well, you have. It was just a long time ago and you don't remember. And she's like, oh, that's a bummer, because she watches my YouTube videos and stuff. And she's like, well, why don't you do it anymore? And I was like, well, I don't know. I'm like, I don't really know the answer to that because like, what's a good reason? And it really made me go and think like, why am I not doing this? And it like sparked that fire again of like, the only person that I'm hurting and that's stopping this is myself because I have all the contacts still. I have all the songs. I've done it before. It's not like I'm stepping into something new. The only reason I'm not doing it was mentally probably not knowing if people wanted to hear my music anymore and taking that leap of faith. But when I started to be more real again and not care what people thought and then start to post more about music, and this is not saying it in any type of like bragging way at all, but like I had 30,000 followers on Instagram for like 6 years. Like I was like, okay. And I have nearly 500,000 now, which is mind-blowing because I'm like, I'm really not that entertaining or exciting. But I think women just wanted to see like people out there chasing their dreams. Obviously, I'm doing it independently again. I think times have changed. People want to see like they're starting like women are supporting women. There was a phase that like it wasn't so much like that, but now it really feels like that. And as an independent artist, like it's made it so easy because when I was releasing music, which makes me feel super old, there were albums and we had to go to the store. Now it's streaming. And that's how, there's so many independent artists that are like having huge success on their own terms. And I answered to a record label for 15 years. I literally got told what to wear, what to say, what to do, who I could hang out with. And it's just refreshing that I get to make those choices now. Me and my family get to make those choices. And the people that are out there that, I'm always asking like, hey, what do you want to hear? What do you guys want to see next? So it's definitely refreshing. I do feel like it's empowering to know that I'm taking a risk and I'm doing it again. And I'm okay though. I've definitely set goals, but not expectations. What happens, happens.
Now, you just said something about that. Now you're doing everything independently. You get to ask your own audience, what do they like? There has been a huge uproar in country music ever since Beyonce got
Mhm.
in, did her album, and won some awards.
Yes. Yes.
Everybody's defining what is country.
Mhm.
What do you say? I mean, coming from the actual rodeo family that you came from, which is kind of defined as more country,
Yeah.
and hearing what people are saying now, what do you have to say about everything?
I think, okay, so I embrace other genres coming across the country because I had a crossover song that went pop once, and obviously I'm not pop, I am a cowgirl. But I do think that country, the whole branding of country has just blown up since Yellowstone and all, it's just cool right now. So I do feel like that's why a lot of pop singers are coming over to country because they're just kind of riding the bandwagon of it being so popular. But country comes in all shapes and forms. Um, but country music to me is about storytelling and taking people on a journey. Obviously, at 16, I was a country music singer singing songs about love and breakups, and I'd had one relationship. So we all sing things, and but now I feel like my songs actually have meaning and I've had life experiences, but it's about taking people on a journey. If you want to define actually country, it's about country people are people of their word. They're handshake people. They're yes ma'am, they're yes sir. You know where they stand. So to me, that's what I love so much about being a cowgirl and growing up in the with as a country girl with the responsibility. Kids at a young age are taught responsibility. Um, we find fun, you listen to country music songs and you know why, like we find fun on driving down a dang dirt road and sitting on the back of the truck. A lot of the pop songs are having fun in the clubs. Like it's just a
Mhm.
different culture. And it's one that I'm definitely proud to be a part of. And I'm excited that the industry is getting more well recognized worldwide. Country music and country's grown so much in Australia as well the last year. It's really, really exciting time for anybody in that industry.
You have a new single, Back to Texas,
Yeah.
which you have been able to collaborate with really inspiring, talented people. Grammy Award winning Jessie Joe Dillon, who has worked with Morgan Wallen and Kelsey Ballerini, Garth Brooks's longtime harmony singer, Karen Rochelle. What is it like working with these people that, as you said, you were on a label, you were getting in there, but you were being told what to do with everything. Now you're making those decisions, dictating who can be on your album.
Yeah. So the funny thing is, some of these songs that I have coming out this year, I wrote many years ago when I was living in Nashville and I was in between that in between stage. But, um, I look back to, for example, Jessie Joe Dillon. She now is a multiple time Grammy Award winning songwriter. But when we wrote Take Me Back to Texas, we were just two cowgirls, two country girls writing songs. She hadn't had a bunch of hits. But we spoke the same language. And the same thing with Karen Goss, harmony singer. When I knew I wanted to write a song specifically about Texas and that concept, I knew I needed people that understood that culture, and both of these women did. Um, and this song is, yes, it's about love in Texas, but it's more about take me back to my original who I am, my cowgirl, my countryside, rather than being in Nashville with the high heels and things like that. I was missing that part of me, felt like it was missing at the time when I wrote this song. And coming back into the industry, I am one that needs to I like to commit. I'm all in. So I've actually shot 3 music videos already for 3 singles coming out this year. The next song I wrote with Walker Hayes, and same thing with Walker. It's like when I was writing with Walker, he was at the stage of barely paying his bills for his family and labels saying he wasn't good enough and losing his record deals. And now seeing all of his success and how humble he stayed, it's kind of one of the reasons it really did motivate me to get back into it too, because I watched Walker. He had so many chances in Nashville and none of them worked just because it wasn't his time. And now it is his time to shine. So being able to have people like that that I can look to and call and talk to for advice is amazing. I feel very lucky to the people I have worked with, and I loved having seen their journeys that they've all become on. Third song, same thing. The guy wrote it with Jaron Boyer. He's written the last 10 number ones for Jason Aldean, basically. But he was just an Alabama boy, trying to put gas in his truck. And but it's been a journey, and it's just really nice because I do believe Nashville's a 10-year town. And I do think, had I stayed in Nashville longer, it may have been, I may have stayed in the industry at that point longer, but I wouldn't have what I have. I wouldn't have businesses, my husband, my family, all the great things I have now. And I do think that, there is no time like the present. And I'm excited to get back into it and continue working with some of these great people, whether it's independently or what the future holds. I mean, ideally, I would love to get on a couple of tours. Performing is my favorite part of being a musician and an artist. I love performing and taking people on a journey.
Let's talk about the conundrum of social media. There's like some good, some bad. Have you ever run into like the bad stuff, and what do you do?
Girl, so much judgment on social. I actually posted yesterday, and I was like, hey, I posted a video where I was all put together. And I was like, you know what? I just really feel like I need to now post a video of like what I really look like, because this is just not real. Like, we don't wake up put together. Like, I love social, and I'm not going to say I've never used a filter and things like that. But I do want to say, now that I have daughters, like, it definitely is not great for people's self-esteem because they think that we all are perfect, and people aren't perfect. I don't care who you are, how famous you are. You are not perfect. You don't wake up looking perfect. So I really try to show people like all sides of me, not just the one you see on social. And obviously people love to hide behind their computer and be judgmental. But you know what? If people aren't talking about you, you must be living a boring life. So I pride myself in people feeling like they need to share their opinions or comment, because it makes me think, okay, well, they care. They're looking at my stuff for a reason, because I must be doing something right. So I just try and like block out the negativity. Had to do it from a very young age, and I just learned to not worry about other people's opinions. And as long as I know what I'm doing, and I know, that it aligns with what I want to be, that's all that matters to me.
You have Fit with Shea. I mean, you do fitness. People, especially young girls, with their body image and seeing all this stuff online, taking, as you just said, the reality out of it and being like, yeah, I love to work out, but if this isn't your body type, this is what you should be looking more at.
Yeah, I've always tried to say my fitness journey isn't about what you have to lose. If you go into it, this is what I have to lose, it should be, this is what I have to gain. I'm gaining self-confidence. I'm gaining more pride in myself. I'm gaining extra energy. I really try and tell people, don't look at what you're losing, because we're all built different. Our first two kids, my body bounced back like that. I looked like I was, 18. It was fine, easy. Third child, not so much. I mean, I had extra weight on me for a year and a half after tying, and it made me realize that's when I started Fit with Shea, because I was like, what do I do? Because I was fit, I was doing everything right, and I just wasn't seeing results. And it wasn't that I cared about the scale. I just didn't feel like myself. I wasn't confident in myself. My body didn't look like I felt like it should. So what I started doing is creating a way to eat healthy without dieting, without being hungry, focusing on certain food groups. It has to be maintainable. If it is not maintainable, if you can't go to a gas station and find something that I would tell you that you should eat, it's not maintainable if you have any type of busy life like we have. So it had to be maintainable. And I just did I do a 2-week body reset. And I do it probably twice a year when I just feel like my body just needs to reset. Basically what it does is it gets everything back in line, and your body can start to function again. And then you can get back to eating like all of the food groups. But I like to post workouts for the women too. And I guess guys could do them, but I don't have 2 hours in the gym. It's just not possible for me. I have about 30 minutes. I can do some weights, and then I'll go for a run. That's all I've got, and I need to see results. So I figured out workouts that are easy for people to do at home or on the road. And I just wanted a group for women to feel like they're accountable to each other. Originally, it was just showing a few friends these tips and tricks, and they were all seeing amazing results. And I was like, well, I guess I might as well share it with other women. So that's kind of how that happened. But obviously, even my body fluctuates. I mean, we're not perfect, we're human. And like I said, what you see on social media isn't every day of our lives. I mean, it's just you have to know that God made you a certain way. You may never be 120 pounds. You may always be 140 pounds because that's exactly how God wanted you. But if you're eating healthy and you're exercising, you're doing everything you can and you just embrace what you've got, is what I say.
Okay, you're in the same region as the Yellowstone Empire. We've had past guests from Yellowstone, and Texas is absolutely booming right now. You've got Austin, you've got Fort Worth and Dallas area. What are you telling tourists when they come down to Texas that they have to see?
Well, I live not too far from Fort Worth. So if you haven't been to Texas, the Stockyards is amazing. They've done an incredible job. They do the Longhorn droving down the street. It's really a great experience. I mean, us like rodeo cowgirls, we've seen it all before, but as a tourist, 10 out of 10, amazing. The Stockyards is just an amazing place to be. Probably would say that's my favorite place in Texas. If I was a tourist, would be the Stockyards. But obviously Austin's great, Houston's great, but I'm a Fort Worth girl, that's for sure.
You recently just did was it a concert with Easton Corbin?
Yeah.
Tell us what's going on with all that.
Yeah, so we had a live televised event, which live televised events are always very not nerve-wracking because like you're nervous to sing, but nerve-wracking like, oh my gosh, is everything going to go to plan because they're live. But yeah, Easton and I did an event for it was an ag rally event, so it reached like 40% of the agricultural in America. So it was really cool. We sat down and it was more acoustic style, which I'm more of a full band type of girl and like rock it out, have fun, but it was good. It was an acoustic style show. We got to talk about our life and our childhood, and it was a really great way to get to know the audience and the viewers. But yeah, I had a great time performing with him. It was good because my family actually came. The kids were in the audience, and I posted a video, and Praise is like sitting up there clapping and singing every word, and she's our oldest, and so that was really cool to do that. But, like I've said to Easton, I'm like, hey, when are we doing some more shows together? So hopefully that's the plan. We'll get back on tour and be doing many more of those.
We brought up working with Jessie Jo Dillon and Karen Rochelle and now Easton Corbin. Who else would you like to work with?
Oh my gosh. I mean, if I had the choice, my like idols like Goth and George and Shania, Reba, like they're my idols. But I mean, I don't know. I'd be down for a duet with, I don't know. Everyone's like Riley Green's such a big star right now. And my husband's actually friends with him and knows him. So like I would do a duet with Riley. He would be a great person. I don't know, girl, that's a hard one. I kind of knew Thomas Rhett when we were songwriting a lot together in Nashville, but I don't know. It just kind of depends on the song to who's the right person. Cody Johnson, obviously, we were the same background and how we grew up and so forth. So he would be amazing because I feel like we get each other. So I think that we could do a super cool rodeo style duet.
Songwriting. How do you tackle songwriting? And like, because everybody thinks I've got the next hit. I've got the next great work. When you're writing that song, when do you differentiate what is crap and what is good?
You can tell pretty quick if it's going to be crappy, that's for sure. You don't normally record it past the demo, but songwriting is very therapeutic for me. It saves me a lot of therapist sessions. Some songs will be written in 30 minutes, some will take 3 days, but some of the best ones are written so quick. It's just like it just comes out. You just start with an idea or a concept and it just builds from that. A lot of life experiences, either with myself or the songwriters, other friends' experiences I've heard about too. So I really just like to write from true experiences because I feel like other people can relate to them. I've definitely recorded some outside songs before, but those were ones that I was like, oh my gosh, this song just hits me. This is meant for me. But yeah, songwriting's great. I mean, I love doing it. Some songs just never see the light of day because they're not that great. But if it gave you a good, therapy session, that's all that matters.
Well, you said you've crossed some genres at times with your music. And I just watched the Bob Dylan biopic that was out there. And Johnny Cash was a huge one, a huge, crossover from country to rock. You know, like taking when you decide maybe I should like delve out of country a little bit and take some of those sounds. Have you ever done that?
Yeah, for sure. So, in Australia, back when I released some of my earlier music, country was big, but it wasn't like pop. So my label was like, "Hey, we really want to record some songs or re-record some songs and make them sound more mainstream." So we actually took a couple of my songs that were country and we remastered them and re-sang them and just kind of jazzed them up. So I did have two songs that crossed over to pop in Australia. So knowing that, making the music videos, we had to make sure we catered for the country music version of the song and the pop version of the song. So that was a little trickier, but good music's good music. I mean, I listen to country mostly, but there's some great pop songs I listen to as well. I mean, I just think as long as a song like speaks to you and it's well written, great melody. I don't care what the genre is. Heck, I was listening to 90s hip hop the other day, Usher and all sorts of Kesha, all these different artists. And I was like, even from the 2000s, I was like, yeah, great music's always gonna be great music.
Taylor Swift is a huge topic, again with the Beyonce, but she moved from country over to other genres.
Yeah.
And you know, it's kind of an argument right now that people are like, oh, well, she started country and now she's a traitor and blah, blah, blah. If you had that opportunity to move away from country into a different genre, would you take it?
I would always still stay in country because that's my roots are. I think I'm too much of a cowgirl for that. But you have to understand, Taylor wasn't a cowgirl growing up. She sang country music, but her dad was a bank investor, and it's not like they grew up like in a town. It's not like they lived on the land. So, and I actually knew Taylor quite well. I being with my baby, a song I recorded was a Taylor Swift song. I had lunch with her, back in the early days. Obviously, we're not like we don't talk anymore because it's been a lot of years. But when we were in Nashville, we were releasing at similar times. But she was just a talented songwriter. And same thing, your songwriting comes from those people that you're working with too. So as you start to bring in new co-writers that may lean more pop, your songs are going to go that way. And in the earlier days, I guarantee her record label was like, hey, there's money to be made in pop, let's cross over. And then when she started having crossover hits, then she was writing with more and more pop co-writers, and it just eventuated. But I mean, obviously, I still think that she knows she started from country in Nashville, and that's never going to change. But lyrically, her songs as she grew were very deep, and they leaned towards the pop songs. I feel like country songs are written amazing, but we use more casual wording in our songs, if that makes sense. And Taylor's very, very has a very high IQ. Some of the words she used, I'm like, I don't even know what that word means, but okay, it's great in your song. So, that's where she was going to go. I mean, we all knew that's where she was going to end up eventually because she kind of had that little poppy sound anyway from day one.
Let's talk fashion because you are so fashionable. You have a fashion line for the babies. And as you said, you're independent now. You're not having somebody tell you what to wear. What are you leaning towards with fashion?
I get that a lot. I'm a denim girl right now. I'm a denim on denim girl. Obviously, I'm wearing black, but I have jeans on. I'm a big denim girl right now. I feel like it's really in. I love it. I'm a big corset type of girl right now too. It's amazing how like the trends change. Obviously, I wear my hat a lot, but not all the time. It really just depends on the outfit and the occasion. If I'm singing at an event that's for an ag rally, I'm going to wear jeans and be more cowgirl focused. I'm singing at an event that's more fashion forward. Well, obviously, I can bring in a corset and trade up the jeans for, a cute skirt with some boots or something. But I've always kind of had my own style. I don't call them recycle, but I like to repair and rewear things in my wardrobe I've got stuff I wore just last week that was from 6 years ago that I wore one time. I'm like, this is so cool again. Let's wear it. So I like to create my own style. I try not to look and see what everybody else is wearing. I like to be unique, but I am a denim type of girl right now. Whether it's a skirt or a corset or jeans, I'm all about it.
And you brought up, and this is throwback, the Cruel Girl. And all of these trends coming back, the 90s country music coming back. What denim do you like?
I don't have a sole brand that I wear, honestly. I really don't. I mean, I have a pair of Lainey Wilson's new Wrangler jeans. They're great. I also have a pair of, I like to shop at a lot of smaller boutiques.
Mhm.
Some of my favorite boutiques to shop at would be 12th and Tribe have great stuff. I love Princess Polly. I got so many different, let's see, Bella. I look around. I don't focus on one certain company. I visualize my outfit, I guess because I had that designer mind. Okay, I need XYZ to make this complete. So I start Googling denim patchwork corset. And then I see what pops up, and I'm like, that's the company. And then I buy it from there. Or I contact that company. So I definitely can visualize my outfits before I buy them. And then I just put pieces together from different companies I believe in.
You just brought up Princess Polly, and Princess Polly is actually doing more country, like Western. Yeah. They have a whole Western campaign coming out.
Yep, exactly. 12th and Tribe, they've all got all these Western campaigns coming out, which is really cool. A lot of fringe, a lot of, it's funny because it's like what my Shea Baby clothes are. Lots of fringe, lots of suede, lots of denim is really in right now. But I mean, heck, I wore all of that when it wasn't in. I didn't care if it was in or not. If I thought it was cool and it met my style, I was going to wear it.
Where can everybody find you on social media now that you have like 500,000 followers?
Oh, girl, I mean, who knows? Who knows? But yes, so I'm on Instagram. That's kind of my biggest platform right now. It's just under Shea Fisher. I think it's Shea Fisher Music. I have Facebook. Obviously, I'm on there as well. I do TikTok, but I'm really not great at it. I mean, I do it, but I'm just like, I don't know if I'm cool enough for this anymore. And then, of course, Tyson, my husband, he has all his social media platforms as well, his is Tyson Durfey. So my music is through my maiden name still. But yeah, reach out. We still run our pages. We still reply. The biggest thing for people to do is streaming the new single, Take Me Back to Texas. As an independent artist, that's how we get on tours. That's how we get booked, is from the number of streams. Times have changed. So streaming the song, feel free to just like put it on repeat. I'm okay with that. But yeah, streaming, you can find on all the streaming areas. And then the music video is also on YouTube.
Oh, the music video is on YouTube also.
Yep.
All right. What was it like shooting that?
Oh my gosh, so much fun. I love shooting music videos. I actually flew my Australian music director over from Australia to shoot 3 videos in 2 weeks, because I have worked with him since I was younger and I love working with him. And I was like, you know what? I'm still an Aussie, even though I'm Texan. I need to bring my Aussie guy over. And so he came for 2 weeks. We shot 3 music videos and we had an absolute amazing time. It poured down rain during Take Me Back to Texas. You couldn't tell if you watched the video, other than the one scene at the start where we're in the rain. That was actually rain because it was pouring. And we still made it work. But it was a great time. And it's always nice when you have a vision for a song and then you can put it together in a music video. That's really where the songs come to life, in my opinion.
How important is it when you're making that song, but also making that video and having the visual so people can see what the concept of the song, and also see you and as an artist?
Yeah, super important. I mean, most songs I really like, I will obviously stream it and then I'll go watch the video because I want to be able to visualize what these artists are visualizing and where they're seeing this song at. But for me, shooting the music video here in Texas on our ranch, and then Ty and Paige Murray's ranch, I mean, it couldn't be any more perfect, really. And riding our horses with our friends involved. I didn't use my husband as the guy actor, and my kids are like, "Did you marry him, Mom?" I'm like, "No, he's an actor. I didn't marry him." But he's actually another calf roper who's a model / actor. And Tyson was totally okay with that. Tyson's all about, he's like over there directing, like, look more in love. I'm like, we're trying. But yeah, so we tried to keep as many people involved in this as we could, that, friends, even one of my other music videos, the girl that's acting is a friend of mine, and she's younger and did an amazing job. Total rock star. I didn't go and hire some actor out of LA. I literally got people here in Texas that I knew could do the job and do it great. And everything just turned out so perfect.
That wasn't even a little bit irritating with having him behind the scenes saying, look more in love. And
I had a music video called Tattoo in Australia. I shot the music video too. And I had to lay beside this guy in bed, nothing weird, and I had to like rub his arm and he had to look in my eyes, and Tyson's like behind the camera. He's like, this doesn't look believable. Stroke. And then he comes and he shows the guy how to stroke my arm. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so weird. But no, having a husband that's supportive is great because he's like, you need to look more in love. Stop being so awkward. So, I embrace it.
Giving the direction.
Yep.
That actually brings up a really good point too, because like, I think it was the Christians came after Alan Richson recently about his sex scenes and everything.
Oh.
I was like, whoa, guys, you don't even know what goes on behind those scenes. It's not.
Yeah, like my one music video, if you look it up at Shea Fisher, it's called Tattoo. Mm-hmm. I have a sheet on, like I'm wearing a sheet, like sitting in the bed. And it looks like I'm just wearing a sheet. I'm obviously literally in workout pants and like a crop top, totally clothed under the sheet, yet it looks like I'm just wearing a sheet. So it's like, unless you can see it all, there's 1,500 people standing there. Like it's not, but mine's very G-rated. But yeah, no, it was like, I did say that the third video we shot, I didn't do the acting in it because there was quite a few kissing scenes. And I was like, oh, the guy I was going to be kissing was like one of my brothers almost. I'm like, no. I was like, I'm getting an actress for this because this is weird. I can act in love, but I won't, there are certain lines I won't cross being a married woman, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. So what else are we going to see from Shea Fisher coming up?
Yeah, lots of new music this year. I'll be competing some over the summer with Tyson as well. My horse is back. So between my new
What are you
single,
competing in?
Bow racing. So I have a really really nice horse. I was winning a ton last year and he got hurt, had to have some surgery done. But he should be back entering next month. Obviously music's my number one focus. But I will have a horse out in the road when Tyson's competing. If I'm out with him, I'll be competing as well. So lots between the businesses and just there's a lot going on. Shea Baby's doing bigger youth sizes now. So we're just everything's moving and it's going to be good. I honestly don't need more than about 5 to 6 hours maximum sleep. So, it works perfect because I just work. If the kids are in bed and Tyson's asleep and, we've spent time together, I just come back out and work and have my quiet time. And I get a lot done at night. So it's my time to work then.
That's great. And hopefully we can maybe get Tyson on here to talk about his rodeo career.
We will make that happen. I will make sure that Tyson jumps on here with you as well.
No, that is awesome. I am so happy for you, Shea. You are so amazing. You're so busy. And thank you so much for taking the time out. We've been sitting here almost an hour now. So I'm going to let you get back to your day.
I'm going to take a photo of us. I'm actually going to take a photo of our screen. There you go. Look at us go. So no, I really appreciate you having me. Thank you so much. Great time catching up. And we will have to do it again and talk about how this year was at the end of the year.
Oh, absolutely. You're going to have to come back on. And thank you so much for providing us with your song. And everybody's going to be able to listen to it in the intro and the outro. So, Shea Fisher, thank you so much. Perfect. You take them into that new song.
Yes, this is Shea Fisher, and you're listening to my brand new song, Take Me Back to Texas.
Thank you so much, Shea.
Girl, I appreciate it. Have a great day.
It was burning red. You had your back against that old oak tree. I was leaning up against your chest, watching the horses running free. And I said, they're so beautiful and wild. You said, girl, they're just like you. Someday you'll be running too. Sure enough, you knew me all too well. It wasn't long till my dreams set in.